Okay, back at it again with the white plants memes, dude. Hey everybody, Alexander Morgan here, but we be buds. Just call me Schmorgle. We're jumping back into song number 3, which I showed you in its entirety earlier this week. Now let's dive into the session and see what the heck's happening underneath the hood of this song. Andrew's whole lesson this week was about recording live audio, whether that be analog instruments like guitars or your own voice. I have some experience recording live audio, so this wasn't so new to me, but I wanted to challenge myself in interesting ways. One challenge was built into this whole thing because I still don't have all my gear. A lot of it's still in a moving truck, so I had to use this old parlor guitar that I've had for over a decade. Still has the same strings on it when I pulled it off the wall in Guitar Center for $100. Went ahead and gave it a strum. Oh god, not so good. Luckily, I had an extra pack of strings, and with a little bit of elbow grease. Not bad. Still a G chord, but not bad. So in the spirit of writing stuff with analog instruments and the voice, I decided to start from where most singer-songwriters do, a guitar, a chair, and a piece of paper. I found a chord progression I liked just through improvisation, using some chords, putting a capo on it to sort of pump it up for my voice. Usually my writing process is done through a lot of gibberish, so I'll just strum some chords that I like in repetition and sing nonsense, and usually fit words in there afterward. One lyric kept sticking to me just through the improvisation: bet it on, you put all your chips into something. So it wound up becoming a song that's kind of about people in power, people who have dominion over us, and where we put our votes, where we spend our dollar, and dealing with the repercussions of that if we don't like the result. You can see where I'm going with this. Anyway, I had my base for a song, I submitted it to the group, and then started working. So where do we start? Tracking guitar. This process was pretty simple. I just went ahead and used my Audio-Technica AT2020, which I use to record pretty much everything because it's the only good mic I have. And I tracked this crappy little parlor guitar. With a little bit of doctoring, it doesn't sound so bad. And that's mainly from our tools down here. Put a compressor on it like you always do. I cut all the lows out because it was really muddy on this little parlor guitar, and pumped this mid to high range frequency to really get it sparkly. For this, the mic placement was really at an angle. Andrew actually taught us this lesson where putting a mic right on the sound hole of a guitar can actually make it sound really boomy. So giving it a slight angle helps to pick up the real good frequencies, the stuff we want to hear out of a guitar. Staying in guitar land, I decided to add a little bit of electric guitar. In my head, I wanted to make it like an old, early Coldplay song. It wound up, through the DIY-ness of it, kind of sounding like a Mac DeMarco song mixed with a Coldplay song. If that's not a thing, it is now. So to get that sort of shimmery Coldplay guitar effect, I went DI with my electric guitar, which is a Guild Starfire 4 for you tech nerds, and just laid some sparkly lines on top. You can hear a lot of hiss in there, but it kind of gives it some character. I still bumped it up here on the highs. Yeah, this section's the Mac DeMarco-y vibe. Kind of tape effect, wobbly tone. That comes from two things. One, my reverb bus, which is, again, the Valhalla. It's pretty up. It's 100% actually, and we got a 4-second delay, so it really gives it that kind of whoa, ghosty feeling. The other reason we get that Mac DeMarco effect is because the acoustic guitar with the capo on it was not intonated, and I didn't notice until I tracked a bunch of things that my whole song was actually pitched up 30 cents, which is like barely half a semitone. So it made for tuning other instruments a little bit challenging. Now the bridge guitar is where we really get some Coldplay stuff going on. Again, that kind of wobbly tuning. In context, all those guitars sound like this. Throw in the acoustic. Not bad. Finally, this crappy guitar solo at the end. I just improvised a few to get some ideas down, and I wanted to come back to it later, but After having it in the demo for so long, I got really married to how like unsafe and kind of, well, poorly played it was. And every time I tried to play something well, it just didn't have the same like feel or attack. So it's really not my best solo, but there's some kind of charm to it for some reason. So I kept it in. So this, we really cranked the amp. I threw a limiter on it because it gets really thrashy and I wanted it to stay balanced. The echo helps saturate some of the nonsense that's going on with all the muted notes and clickiness. Real thrashy. So you hear a lot of extra harmonics in there, which can really mess up a mix, but I thought it built the song well enough that I kept it all in. And here's all the guitar for that section. Pretty cool. Now let's tackle every producer's favorite instrument, the drums. I think it's best to start with what it sounds like first and then breaking it down. And that's honestly pretty much the groove the whole time. I really wanted it to sound like a super tight, compressed, real kit, but having the low-end information of something more subby and 8080. That being said, I pretty much used this 707 kit, which is sampling, it's an old sampler using live drums. It's like that perfect balance between programmed and live, in my opinion. The only thing I switched out for one of my kicks is this 606, so I lied about the 808 thing. But before it sounded too punchy, and now we have this low-end information. Real nice. Our snares, super tight snare. I'm not using that. Another tight snare. And then our closed hi-hat. Most of these I kept the same except for the hi-hat. I mostly lowered the volume and changed the frequency a little bit. Pretty standard groove right here on the grid. Just really wanted to keep it tight, keep it moving. Again, that sort of Coldplay, just like blocky pop rock music, baby. I added a separate drum rack for these crashes here, just so I can modulate them separately from the whole kit. This ride I got from Splice. Same with this crash. The 707 kit just had two unrealistic sounding crashes and rides, so I brought some in. Here's what they sound like in the chorus groove. Moving on to bass. Oh yeah, subby friend. As always, my Mini V3. The club sub, apparently. Wow, good. Didn't mess with this one a ton other than this amp here, the bass roundup. Some more grit, pumping those lower frequencies. That's pretty much it, just writing a part that really sat in the pocket. Like here's the drums and bass together. Pretty fun. Now on to vocals. So typically when I do vocals, I overdo takes. I do about 1 million of them, and then comping is a nightmare. So for this one, since everything was pretty janky as it was and all the pitches were weird, I challenged myself to only take 5 takes. I wasn't really able to pitch the vocals either, which I tried to, but with the 30 cents off, it made it really hard to be sure that everything was on pitch. So I just kept the vocals raw and just did the normal vocal chain without pitching. So I'm going to go ahead and turn all of these things off before I go through them so you can hear what these vocals sound like raw. And here they are. How did anyone notice? And the chorus? Your love is disguised. So, fine, but not very dynamic. Here's where one of Andrew's main lessons really came into play, his vocal chain. This thing is a beast, man. He gave some specifics on the settings, but it really depends on the voice, so I made a little bit of changes for myself. Really high ratio on the compressor here, so everything's balanced. This is a dialed-in slapback delay. This isn't your delay that saturates the vocals. It just makes it feel like it's really in a room. Then we have the Tony Maserati VX1. This is from Waves. I was able to get these plugins a while ago, and then I saw that Andrew used them. I've hardly used it, but this thing really does boost your vocals just to push it through the mix a little bit more. Then we have a de-esser. This is the RDesser, also from Waves. I particularly have a very whistly S, as you're hearing right now, so this is pretty important for my vocal chain. And lastly, some EQ, just to cut those lows and to pump where your voice sits well. Mine is somewhere around this 1.2 area. Now on the harmonies. I didn't want to add too much in this song, I just got the hook and the chorus. These were not performed super well, but I did tune these the best I could. You bet it all. Other than that, I just added some O's in the B section to really beef it up. After laying those down, I had this idea for the intro to sort of hint those parts. So I pitched some of them up and then used the ones from later. Last but not least, let's talk about some of the automation on the vocals. There is automation all over this track, mostly volume on the guitars and pumping some of the amp, but most of the automation came from the lead vocal line and this echo. I wanted to make those sections crossing over to be a little more dynamic, so I just cranked this echo here. You'll see it pop on when I start it. This is a really great way to make your vocals more dynamic and not have a delay just oppressing you the entire song. Automation really changes the game on that. We have some here for the outro. It's a halftime synced note delay, so it's just right there on the beats. And that's pretty much it. As I'm wrapping up here, I just want to go ahead and take some time to say thank you so much to Andrew Huang for the class and to all my peers, all the people I met in the class. It's been truly a pleasure, and I really hope to keep in touch with every one of you. Despite the class being over, I'm going to continue making music and sharing it with y'all and showing you the whole process. Please let me know what you want to see, if anything. I've got a couple of fun ideas lined up. I'm about to get back on schedule because I'm going to get all my gear, getting a new desk, going to be ready to make some content, dude. If you haven't seen the full song yet, go ahead and click this up here. There's also some other videos right over there. And if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe. It would mean a lot. Thanks so much. See you next time.